Some people are always the center of attraction for everyone. Kazuki and Suzun are two of them, and some are like Usato, who could be forgotten easily. Usato was a good student and he enjoyed himself, but he always wanted a fantastic life. It was raining, and his umbrella was missing. In a stroke of bad luck, he saw an umbrella but didn't embezzle it and started waiting for the rain to stop. But the rain wasn't stopping. Suddenly Suzun came and asked what he was doing, and he told her that he lost his umbrella, and it was late. Kazuki came and gave him the spare umbrella of his. They had a little chit-chat and Usato came to know that they were very nice. Kazuki asked to walk home together, and they started walking. While walking they started talking and Usato told them because they were the personalities in the school, he didn't believe that they would talk like this. But they were very nice and kind. Out of curiosity our innocent man asked if they were dating. They stopped, and she said everyone whispered always, but he was the one who asked in person. They appreciated him and said no, they were only good friends. She asked about their plans, but no one had decided including her. They were talking and suddenly they heard bells sound. They stopped but Usato had not heard anything. Suddenly a yellow light from the magical circle appeared and Suzun was excited as if it was summoning from another world. Usato woke up and they were in front of King Lloyd of Linger. Kazuki was nervous, but Our Lady was excited and Usato was staring at her out of his shock. Kazuki asked why they were in his palace and Lloyd told them that his kingdom was attacked by a demon king, and he wanted help from heroes to protect his kingdom. Kazuki was angry and he told him that the ritual only summoned heroes in one direction, but Suzun was still excited. When Kazuki tried to argue, King apologized and walked to them. He bowed his head and asked for their help. Suzun asked why he was calling them heroes. According to Lloyd and Wellesley, the ritual only summons competent persons and they hear bells when they summoned. But our man had not heard anything. Now Wellesley took them to measure their magical abilities and our boys started talking, but Our Lady was excited because it was fun for her. Wellesley prepared the magical ball and when she touched it, it turned yellow and it was a thunder ability. She was happy and proud. When Kazuki touched it, it turned white, which was a light ability. It was a rare magical power. Now our man stepped forward and when touched the ball turned green. Wellesley was stressed and took him with her. They went to the king and when he came to know that the ball turned green, he was also shocked. Suddenly a girl named Rose came and asked for the ritual. The king was still nervous. They told her about it, and she asked Usato for his introduction and the king told her that he was summoned by chance and the heroes were in the room. She was about to leave, and our man asked for the green color power. Suddenly Rose turned, and the king ordered Wellesley to take Usato away. She used her magic to do so, but Rose started running after him and caught him. She told King that he'd be a member of her rescue team. Suzun and Kazuki were also informed that Usato were stolen, and he was at Rose's house. She told Usato that she'd teach him the healing magic and summoned her boys. They introduced themselves and our man was frightened. Because they had scary faces, Rose told them to be nice. She told him that his training would start tomorrow, and he could sleep with Tong tonight. He was hopeful for something good and Rose was thinking about him. Now the next day when he woke up, he wished that it might be a dream but was informed that he had some guests. Kazuki and Suzun came to meet him. They asked about his abduction, and he was a little stressed but hopeful for the best. Suzun was also cheerful about her training. Kazuki patted his shoulder and decided to give his 100% and they left. Rose came and told him that he could meet with anyone, but our man was scared. She also gave him a diary to write about his experiences and said the training would be started after the breakfast. Now his training started. It wasn't very difficult from the start. She gave him a book for the basic knowledge of this world, and he was able to read it. On day 2, he had to run, and the training started to get difficult for him. When he was tired, she healed him and told him to run again. From day 4, he was training with others and all the guys were strong and fast. They also teased him, but our man didn't stop. Rose was also rude. Day after day our man was becoming stronger, and his training was becoming more and more hard for him. Rose was a cold-hearted bitch to him, but his magical powers were coming out for a short time. From the next day his hardships increased. Our man was helpless, but suddenly he healed himself and was shocked. His willpower increased, and he started enjoying the training. But she increased his exercise, and he was mad at her. He was doing push-ups, and his power was increasing. She told him that it would be helpful in the battle, but she was still as crazy as usual. He again started enjoying the training, and one day Tong ate his lunch, and they started fighting. But the fight was also like training for him. Kazuki and Suzun came to meet him along with Princess Celia. When they saw him, they were shocked because he was under heavy weight, but our man was ready to bear it. He was holding it. Siglis got angry and yelled at Rose. She said that he was a solid man who was facing all the tasks with a warm heart, and he would be her right hand, and our man was shocked. She freed him and said he could enjoy himself with his friends. Siglis asked to talk with her, and the kids went to enjoy themselves. They started talking, and when he came to know that Celia was a princess, he tried to console her, but she said it was okay. They were served with a delicious sweet and they started enjoying. Kazuki asked about his training and started telling him about their training. Suddenly Our Lady got lusty on solid muscles and Kazuki was sorry for his hardships. But our man said it was enjoyable because he was habitual now. He was also hopeful to help them in the battle. Suddenly Tong came with his lunch and he was very rough with him. They started fighting and Kazuki was happy for him. They started praising his efforts and said he'd prove himself and they left without saying goodbye. Suzun believed that there was a reason that the three of them were summoned. At night he was taking a bath, and he was happy to meet with Suzun and Kazuki. He started looking at his body out of curiosity because he had worked hard, and this body was the result of Rose and his efforts. The next day Rose asked him to accompany her, and they went out. She told Thomas that she wanted to show Yusato the world around and he ran away. The gate opened and they went outside. On his asking she told him to be silent and follow, and she showed him the forest called the Darkness of Linger. She told him to kill a monster and he was stressed. He tried to beg but she was persistent. She lifted him up and then threw him in the sky. He was falling and was about to die but he used his healing power and got saved somehow. Now a wide forest was in front of him. He was thinking about his task of killing a bear and thought that it would be easy, but suddenly a white bear appeared, and his pants got tight. He started running but the bear was after him. He was powerful, but his skills were of no use because they were 3 in number. Suddenly he jumped from the cliff and fell into the waterfall. He was safe and sound. Now he checked his stuff and was all useless. He cursed Rose and slept. The next day he decided to observe the forest and went out. He was doing great and suddenly saw a rabbit. It was injured but our man saved him with his magic and the rabbit started following him wherever he went. Yusato tried to convince it to go away, but he understood him and not going anywhere. The rabbit showed him the way to the bears, and they started watching them. It was a family of blue and white bears. He went to a river and drank water from it but got a stomachache because it was poisonous, and when he tried to heal himself, it was useless. Now the rabbit showed him a lake with clear water, and he felt amazing. Suddenly the rabbit jumped on the tree and Yusato followed it. Suddenly a huge snake appeared, and it was scary. Yusato had spent some days in the forest, but he was just watching the bears but wasn't able to attack because it was uncomfortable for him. It was raining and the rabbit was asking for something, but he refused. The next day he decided to kill the bear and when he went there, they were already killed. He was shocked because he was upset about the little alive bear, and he promised to get revenge on the snake. On the other side Kazuki and Suzun went to meet him, but they came to know that he was in training. On the way back they had a little chat, and they were hopeful that Yusato would be alright. Yusato started exercising to make himself strong. He asked the rabbit to show the way and reached for the snake. The little bear was already fighting with it and our man attacked the snake and injured it, but the snake was also not weak and attacked Yusato. Our man's arm was in its mouth, but he attacked it and tried to heal himself. Somehow with the help of the little bear he attacked the snake and killed it. Yusato was very weak, and he lay down. The bear started licking him and suddenly the snake woke up and was about to kill him, but Rose came and saved him. She told him that the rabbit named Kukura was her pet, and it was a demonic snake and our man yelled at her, but she said he had proved himself. Bear tried to attack her, but our man patted him, and they got attached. She told them that they all could go home now, and she grabbed them. At the sunset, she told him that he had qualified to be her right hand because he was experienced a little bit and now, he was able to get a way out of a problem. On the other side, Amelia was prepared for an attack on Linger. Rose informed Yusato about the attack of demons and he was curious about the other healers, but Rose told him that he'd be on the front line with him and healing others, because they had a little more time to work on his powers and he was suspicious. On the other side, Amelia informed the king about the attack preparations. She got compliments for being punctual and strict about work. She was nervous when she went out and Hiroluk came, and he mocked her. She was proud of her plan, and he asked if she could see his new creation. They saw it and he was sure that it was way more powerful than previous creation of his. But Amelia was thinking of sending the Black Knight for the attack and our healer was happy to return home. Blurin was also in his new home and Yusato gave him some fruits to eat. Kukura was also there but our man was angry at him because he had cheated on him. Anyhow he also gave him a fruit and Rose came. She was interested in the new name Blurin and she told him that now they had officially adopted Blurin. Rose also informed them that Blurin would also help them in the battle and Blurin was scared but only had to climb on Yusato for his training. Rose told him that he had to run and thought that he had to heal the injured soldiers in the battle. Our man was giving his 100% and Tong with others was making his path difficult from hour to hour because it was what was called training for a fight. His man-hour power was coming out, but he fell after some time. Rose came to him and healed him and told him to practice in the city after that. Our man was great, and he started running in the market and everyone was normal. He went to a shop for Blurin and asked for fruits, but he had no money. The keeper told him that they could understand from his uniform that he was a member of the rescue team, so they were comfortable with his presence. The keeper also gave him the fruit and Blurin was happy. Now Yusato was again running, and a man was running after him. Suddenly he stopped and Usato healed him, and the man said he was Orga, another healer but senior to him. But Orga wasn't good at healing himself and said his sister was also a healer and their work in the battle was only to heal others, and Usato understood what Rose had told him. To some extent, Usato wasn't sure about his skills and powers, but Orga told him that Rose wasn't a kid. If she had chosen him, then she would have known what she was doing. They both stood up to go back to their work and Orga told him not to hate Rose because she was a good lady out of her anger, and Usato was familiar with that. He left and Yororo came to Orga and told her about Usato. Now Usato went to the castle to meet Susan and Kazuki. He got permission, and the soldiers were practicing for the battle. He saw Susan and she got excited to see him. They sat together, and she was blushing to see Blurin. She asked to touch it and Usato allowed her. She was excited because he was very cute. He bit her hand, but she didn't find it hurting and they both were nervous. He told her about his training and when saw her hand, it was injured, he healed it, and she was shy because he was holding her hand. He asked about Kazuki, and she told him that he was out of the kingdom because he had to get experienced, and Kazuki was about to fight with the demonic wolves. Usato was worried about him, and they said goodbye to each other. He was glad that she was working hard, and he also promised himself to save the injured. He said goodnight to Blurin and saw Rose. He went to her and said he knew that he wasn't powerful enough and he also couldn't fight, but today he promised himself to protect others. Rose was happy to hear that and praised him. Everyone was peeking at them. The next morning she told him that the king asked him to accompany Susan in her training and he had to leave. They were going and Rose told him that his job would be only to heal Susan, and they went to the castle and Susan was excited. She introduced Ark and Korin to Usato because they'd be going together, and Rose told Susan some words for her practice, but she was very rude to our hero. She left and Kazuki was practicing, and Celia came to him. She was worried about him, and he was fine literally. She got shy and ran away. Susan and Usato were going, and she was happy. She tried to touch Blurin, but he stopped her and Blurin woke up. She tried to hold it, but Blurin was very heavy and Usato was worried for her. Suddenly they noticed someone's presence, and they were bad guys who asked for their valuable stuff, but they refused. Susan was surprised to see the real bandits and Usato was shocked. When the bandits saw Blurin they were shocked but realized that it was just a kid. Susan got angry and punished them. They were ready to attack and so Susan. They were fighting and suddenly they heard a weird sound. It was falling boars. They were shocked, and this attack was unbearable. Blurin was also saving them, but it wasn't enough, and they fell. But our man was healing Susan. They fell into the water, and he remembered that he was there before. He was unconscious. When he opened his eyes Susan was with him and she got shy. He healed her wounds and for the night he told her that he stayed on the tree, but she had not climbed on a tree before. So, they decided to stay in a cave, and she went to change her clothes. They started using her power to spend the night. He was sitting without a shirt and our girl was too shy to see such solid muscles and suddenly she noticed red eyes. It was venom monkeys. Usato had studied about them and told her not to touch them because they were poisonous. But our mad girl was obsessed with their cuteness and got bitten, but he healed her. Kazuki was also informed about their missing and he asked to search for them. He wanted to go in person, but Rose came and said Usato was her subordinate and he'd never die soon. If Susan was with him then she'd be alright. It was a fact because both of them were very happy and now it was time to sleep. He asked her to sleep first but she was shy so refused. He slept first and she was a bit dizzy and a little sad. She tried to talk, and he was awakened. She asked if he wanted to go back. He said no because this world was amazing, and she also had the same thoughts because she always desired to get freedom from her family and friends. She asked if they were close now and our man got shy and our girl got the wrong idea. The next morning they were going and suddenly they felt something, and it was Blurin. Usato was very happy to see him, and Ark was in a very bad condition. Usato healed him and said Blurin was the one who took him to them. Suddenly Blurin again smelled something and came to the place where he used to live. Everyone was sad, but he turned and started moving because he had decided on his real home. Susan also asked Usato to go to the place where they belonged. Now they came back, and the king was glad to see them. Our man's tongue was slipping again and when the king asked about his training he had to tell them a lie. The king was happy to hear that, and he told them to rest, and their training would be rearranged. Sergio came and was informed of something. Usato was suspicious about that, and Kazuki ran to them. He was worried for them, but Usato was trying to mock Susan and they were behaving like kids. Now they sat and started talking about Rose and her determination, and Usato and our man got the wrong idea. They had a little chit-chat and Celia was watching them. After Usato and Susan left, Celia asked if she could be friends with Kazuki and he was also interested. Now the king was assigning jobs to his trustworthiness, and they left to complete the task because the demon attack was on the way. King asked Rose to see the army of the demon king and inform them that she was about to leave, and he asked her to be the commander again, but she refused and said she was still guilty of her mistake. the mark she got as a punishment, and he tried to convince her, but she told him that he was making a healer who would never die, and King understood that he was Usato because our man had everything: determination, adaptation, and most importantly the will of living. Suddenly she realized and went. Usato got the task by Rose to deliver the letter to the address, and his fellow told him that Rose was out on a mission. Amelia was getting ready for the attack and the Black Knight was tired. He was even rude to her, and Hirola came and tried to tease her. Suddenly the trunk of a tree fell and destroyed the bridge. Was no one but Rose, and Amelia got anxious, and Rose left because she again had some days. Usato was going and everyone was staring at him, and he was uncomfortable. He stopped at the fruit shop and asked for the way. A girl was peeking, and he came to the destination. When he went inside, Yururu welcomed him and she recognized him and said Orga had told her about him. She started guessing his name and he was tired. She told him that it was their clinic and she worked there with Orga, her brother. He asked about Orga, and she said he was treating a patient, and they started peeking. Orga was doing great and Usato was surprised to see such smoothness. The patient was alright and they saw Usato. He gave him the letter and he started reading it, and Usato started talking with Yururu. Yururu was telling him about her training, and suddenly a man came and asked for their help because his friend was injured. Orga asked for his help, and they went to them. They were injured badly, but our healers started healing them. Usato was a little unconfident, but Orga told him to believe in himself and understood and nailed it. Orga and Yururu complimented him, and he left. Orga told Yururu about the letter and the demon attack and said they had to get prepared. Usato was returning and getting the fruits from the shop, and a girl named Amako stopped him. She showed him something from her eyes and he was shocked, because he saw the deaths of his companions because of Black Knight, and Amako ran away. Would he understand the meaning of that? Subscribe to our channel for the latest updates.